Yeah. It needs that angry antenna there. Okay, so catch everybody up. The other day, I realized that with the help of some helpful commentary and feedback, the design I had for these Tektites was not Zelda enough. It was very much in the aesthetic of like a Doom demon design. Not enough classic Zelda-ness represented in the design. And so I did new rough sketches. I like these better. They feel more like Zelda, with the exception of I gotta get these fun little angry antennas rocking. But yeah, now I feel like I'm ready to go back, ink these in. I want to get this one knocked out. See if I can get these Tektites inked, ink them up, ship them. Was way too distracted last week with real work, but this week so far, nice and quiet, nice and dead. Good for the stream, bad for my finances, and we will figure it out. But right now, I got this I can do. This is not nothing. This is good. This type of work is every bit as important as real paying work. In fact, perhaps even more so. It's just on a different timeline. This is more important long term, but in the short term, I have immediate bills that need immediate cash to realize them. And so I need a good mix of both. But I've learned that only having one or the other will not do. Not anymore. Yeah, I've changed this rock that this Tektite is standing on. And now the composition is... Having slept on it more than a few nights, I'm just seeing some things that I want to fix. Lurk, lurk, lurk away. Oh, you have coffee. I want coffee. You have what I want. I want coffee. No big deal. No big deal. I've got water. Yeah, I think you're so fancy with your warm beverages. I would kill for iced coffee right now. Oh well. Oh well. Thanks for joining, Destiny. I may lament verbally the terrible state of the union that my craft belongs to. I don't expect many who watch this stream to be super involved, but the giant union that controls labor and entertainment, especially Hollywood, which is called IATSE, has released the terms of their historic bargain with the studios, announcing major gains, major concessions. We fought the studios and we told them, no, we're not going to take it anymore, and there's no way we're going to stand for you to abuse our artists and laborers and workers. And all it took for the studios to beg for mercy was we had to tell them we would be just fine with AI. Isn't that great news? That's great news. AI is here to save the day. Rejoice, artists. You don't have to work at all anymore. In fact, you'll be lucky if any of you have jobs in 3 years. So that's how that went. So a lot of people in my union are being very vocal towards leadership about these very undesirable terms. And this is all after, and of course it was like, oh, well, you got to get involved and tell the union not to do stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, that's why we assembled the AI task force. There were like this crack team of artists who understood the technology, that their whole purpose was to render easily digestible the desirable terms and criteria for artists to be using AI. And ultimately, these terms basically boil down to, we don't want to use it, we don't want the producers using it, it's stealing from artists just in general. To start with, the outputs can't be copyrighted, at least as far as current law goes. It's all propped up by, unpredictable technologies, hallucinations, things that aren't professional. And we can't stand by their outputs. Nobody can. And the best AI use is none at all. And if there is AI use, we don't want to be compelled to use it or accept it. And we don't want to be replaced by it. Those were the terms, in a nutshell, that the task force came up with and gave to the negotiators. It said, here, give this to the producers and tell them that these are the terms that the union is proposing. They took those terms, said, great, got it. Went to the negotiating room, closed the door, did who knows what for how long, and came back with terms. Mostly it appears to be written by the producers themselves that say, yes, we can. The producers say, yes, they do get to mandate AI use, and only on their terms. And an artist can be compelled to use AI or work with the products of AI. If artists are even needed, and not only artists can use AI, but anybody can use AI. There's just basically glaring giant loopholes in the terms that allow for some very, very terrible possibilities to manifest themselves as far as our future, the future of the industry. And of course, artists getting replaced is not something I had on my bingo card, a few years ago. So this is, nobody who does what I do saw this coming at all. Like, oh, well, one day we'll all be replaced by machines, so we better save up our cash, as if we weren't already scraping by. And now we are in a place where the rug is being a bit pulled out from under us, and our union leadership is being quite complicit in it, and it's a little scary to see that. Have you worked in a project where they're asking for AI generation yet? Not from me. Not from me. I think people go to me because they know I am like beyond good at stuff that most artists aren't good at, which is like actually thinking creatively. And not to denigrate artists, but you know, being an artist is a huge spectrum of talents. And some people draw amazing likenesses of portraits of celebrities from photographs, and that's their entire job. And some people draw cars, and some people from photographs, and whatever. And I'm really good at taking word. Like I am like that Mid-Journey, in that I can take the words and I can just riff on it without looking at a bunch of references. So if people are hiring me in the first place, it's generally because they are underdeveloped as far as concepting, but they need to get storyboards together anyway really quick. So that tends to be where, and to this day, I still find myself, when I am busy on projects, those are the type of projects where they're like, we don't even have time to find somebody who knows how to use AI. We just need you to board this thing out really quick. So while I have not been asked to use AI specifically, although it's been hinted on like one project, but that person was not particularly serious about asking me about it, but just sort of saying, hey, you artists, you can use AI. I won't be mad if you do. But certainly it's never been a requisite yet on my job for me. But however, I have seen AI art references. In fact, it's more or less standard now for a director to, whereas normally they might hire some concept artists to help develop like what a environment looks like, or develop what, you know, a prop or important thing that I'm supposed to be referencing looks like. The director themselves, I mean, Mid-Journey is, you know, I love my directors, but they've made Mid-Journey their best friend because it's tireless and free basically, and gives very satisfactory results very quickly, as far as like, this looks like concept art that I can use, even if I can't tell, you know, the public and the fans about me using it. I can put this in front of Max, and Max can reference this to get a sense of what I'm feeling that I want for this next shot. And if work wasn't so tight and scarce, I might, you know, have the balls to say, hey, you know, darn you should have hired a concept artist to do that. But I have to, unfortunately, be very political about the way I react to clients doing things that I don't think they should do. And that usually just amounts to me keeping my mouth shut and saying, great, looks great, thanks for the references. You know, how do you feel referencing those images? I'd feel, so I'm extremely conflicted because I can see the utility. You know, first and foremost, I am kind of like a businessman, or, you know, business person. But I understand that there are financial inputs and outputs that have to account, as well as creative inputs and outputs. Some stuff is internal, some stuff is external, some stuff is client facing, some stuff isn't. There's no secret that sometimes, you know, people policies and procedures don't always follow, you know, what is dictated by lawyers and whatnot. Shortcuts are taken. Been on projects. I mean, like, I try to tell myself that, like, if I'm looking at something that is mid-journeyed as a reference, it's not particularly, I guess in many ways it is worse, but it's not necessarily worse than when maybe 5 years earlier that same client would have been like, here's a bunch of Pinterest images that I've assembled, again, they don't owe. Hey, KJ. Thanks for joining. Yes, everybody lurk. But I'm just lamenting shit that's going on in my union right now. Because we're all voting on this thing. I already voted no on the terms. I don't want to see AI. AI would have a very difficult time replacing storyboards the way I do them. But a lot of storyboard artists out there right now, their methodology, includes just taking a long time to assemble a bunch of references and then more or less copying what they can find as that can fit via some sort of drawn collage of assembled references that sort of look like they've sort of worked together, and it looks like a storyboard, but still has a bunch of problems in it. It's not drawn fresh, it's not drawn from scratch. That is a particular problem in a lot of like agency boards, like very high up in the chain. You'll have people who work for agencies, advertising agencies, and these people, this is their way, this is what the clients want them to do, but the clients want stuff that looks like they're traced photographs. So that's literally what they're asked to do. Well, now those same agency clients, I've realized we don't even need storyboarding to do that type of work. We can just simply type it into Midjourney and get the result that we need. No need to hire an artist at all, really. And if you do hire an artist, you're saying, here's the Midjourney images we want you to trace. It's like that. And we're going to pay you half as much. I don't know if that's actually been happening or whatever. A lot of the work that I do is it can be extreme. It can be very creative, and sometimes it's extremely pedantic, where it's like, Max, here's the photo of this cafe that's looking east, and I want to see, people drinking coffee in the foreground, and then in the middle, there's a group of 4 friends that are sitting and drinking coffee themselves, but they're starting to get up, but they're not getting up yet. They're just starting to get up. And I want the camera to be at 7 feet high, and I want the camera lens to be 50 millimeter or like 80 mil. I don't know, like a specific lens that gives a specific look. And then in the background, you can see a bike shop with a bunch of bikes, and you can imagine that like that's an incredibly complex drawing that even Midjourney would have trouble getting it just right. So it is sort of interesting that it's like, okay, it is still better to hire an artist to draw that sort of thing, but they have to be able to draw that stuff in the first place. And if you can't use your imagination to draw, like you have to see photos, I could draw that without looking at a photo. It just takes time. It takes probably 40 minutes to draw a sketch like that. But it's worth the money because they know exactly, they can show the crew on the set exactly what they're going to be shooting, and everybody gets on the same page and they see it. But like concept artists, character designers, these types of professions are like the bullseye is on their foreheads. Like it's AI, the Midjourney stuff, it's like a perfect solve for some of those concepts. A lot of, it's really good even like at anime cartoons, and it's just really scary that, and I guess in some ways I'm grateful I opted to go one way versus another way. There was a time that I wanted to get into concept art, and like a lot of this Zelda stuff is very concept arty. It's tricky, and when I have time and I have the interest, like I'll render my boards really tight, like it is concept art. I love, art building, less like world building, but you're like developing an image, like the stuff I'm doing here. But there is there's so much that is the output from Midjourney and types of programs like that. It is good in terms of like, if I didn't know Midjourney existed and I was, I don't know, like someone who, if you pretended I was completely ignorant that AI existed and I saw these images, I'd be like, this is amazing. This person is like the best concept artist I've ever seen. That would just be my objective opinion. So I understand the crack-like addiction that directors and producers and production companies are developing and or have developed in regards to this stuff. It's compelling imagery. It gets you that dopamine hit. I'm sure when you're a user of this stuff, it's a big dopamine hit too. You just feel like you're more invincible than God. But there's gonna be a hangover eventually. This stuff it might be good for your creativity, like maybe in the short term, but in the long term, you will not have. This is sort of like buying a Game Genie or using cheat codes and then beating a video game at it and convincing yourself you did a good job. It's like, no, you didn't, and shame on you. It's not a. It's cringe. Ultimately, that sort of approach is so cringe. They feel, I think, empowered with this new means of their personal expression, because it is so hard. And of course, it's like, I will admit, drawing takes time. Like, I've been working on this Zelda stuff a long time now. Concept art, like where it needs to look photographically great, that can take weeks and weeks. Who has the time? Our pipelines are telescoping. They're shrinking. It's an incredibly demanding schedule. Less time, less money is like the rule on every job, and it has been for decades, ever since I started. But I have hope for storyboarding. What's interesting is this storyboarding. We'll have to see how AI plays into this, but I've watched storyboarding for advertising go from something that would normally book me on a day to something like, if it was a 30-second commercial, they'd book me a day. A day. Make your money in a day. That's the money you get. It went from that when I started out to they can book me now for 5 days storyboarding. And what they're doing is they're understanding over time, what's happened is there's just been this new understanding that the competitiveness of advertising requires really interesting, visually told stories that need to land, and you can't just phone it in anymore with really cheesy kinds of. I mean, sometimes you can do really cheesy commercials, but if you really want to try and make something that feels like a compelling commercial, you have to develop it visually a bit, and it takes a couple of rounds, like back and forth rounds. Hey, Faye. But it's not something that is just like automatic. You can't just rely on the old tropes to make your commercial anymore. And I've got myself into angles now where I'm working on a lot of video game projects or big, like last week I was on an Amazon commercial. Again, this is the other sacrifice, is I'm working for companies that have, it's like I'm not bragging about the, if I could make a living working for like nonprofit moral entities, I might be doing more of that. But right now, where I find myself working is for companies where, half the time I read what they do in the newspaper and I'm not that happy about it. Amazon itself is a huge proliferator of AI tech. Maybe not firsthand so much, but like where it's enabled to do so via scraping or in the cloud, or who knows what they got up their sleeve. So I'm not without my mixed feelings about what I do, but I've always had mixed feelings about what I do because I work in advertising, because I work in commercials. I've had to sort of embrace the cynical, ready to accept the bullshit kind of attitude that I have And because of that, I don't have like precious feelings about art and creativity. I don't think of it as magic. It is business. To me, it's not for everybody. For some people, this is like, for some people, they go to cinema and it's like religion, and I totally understand that. Like, I get that. It's not the same for me. You know, I know too well how the sausage is made. I can infer too much about like what is and what isn't like real artistry in the craft. But you know, there was a time when I was young. I liked all that stuff, and it's fun. I I don't want to see more AI than I am seeing. I'll be clear about that. I don't want to see more of it. Right now, it's definitely taken a huge bite out of where in the pipeline I would normally see concept artists and graphic designers and character designers having work. And that's, it's weird because it used to be like you would start a project. It's like, okay, we've got a script, we've got a director, we've got, the writer is said and gone. They're gone already. But the writer, so the writer's gone, but we've got the producer, director, storyboard artist, me, and then maybe a character designer, maybe an environment designer, maybe a concept artist. So a very small team. And if we were lucky, we'd be working in like the same line of computers at a studio or like in the same Slack chain. Now it's just me. It's just me. I'm the only artist now, besides the director using Midjourney on a project. And it's lonely, and it's not where I want it to go, and I don't want to be replaced. And I don't currently see like a perfect storyboard solution with AI. It takes too much work. It's too specific, and it makes too many generalizations. But one day they might get there. But then why? At that point, what do you even need a director for, In a lot of ways, at least early on in pre-production, the director their job is basically to guide me, and or ratify, accept or reject the boards I put in front of them. If they have something that simply makes storyboards that are perfect, like, you can just pass that on to a production company. You don't even need a creative director at that point. I think a lot of directors are understanding that too. So they're sort of like, we want to use AI, but maybe not for everything, right? Do you still enjoy well-made shit even when you know the industry? I'll be honest, I'm not as tapped into modern stuff that, like, the stuff that comes out. Like, I didn't see, I stopped watching modern movies like regularly after I saw the first part of Peter Jackson's The Hobbit. And I was a huge Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings in the early 2000s, that was like my Star Wars. I was just absolutely, me and my friends, we went to go see the midnight showings. We were just totally obsessed with it. But after The Hobbit came out, and I was seeing where they were making the trade-offs for, it was just, at that point they were just like, now everything is just CG pixel fucked, like up the wazoo. You can't tell what's real anymore. Well, it's like, I can tell what's not real. All of it is not real, and I don't like it anymore. It's just, everything is just too graded and tweaked and treated, and the sort of it's mediated, and I'm not getting anything. Like, you can tell it's like, they had someone go in and, like raise someone's like eyebrow just a little bit to like get the expression that, you know, it's like, Jesus Christ, like I don't appreciate the now there is simply too much control. There's just simply too much control over what is the final output with no return on investment as far as I'm concerned. And I've been to some movies since, like with my kids and stuff like that. But everything is now just a visual spectacle that is, it just feels cheap. Like not cheap, but it like as if they treat the audience like a like we're all addicted to sugar or something like that. Here, take this, and just being here. We know you'll like this. Here's all the dopamine hits you could possibly take for 2 hours straight or longer. Of course we're addicted to dopamine, but like now that's, I want to be a little more like the new Dune movies that came out. I haven't seen them, but I want to see them because I have a feeling that the production there had a greater standard for like the respect for visual storytelling. So I do want to see that. I didn't see Furiosa, but I did really like the original, Fury Road. That was great. I mean, plot-wise, it's stupid, but it's but like, you know, for me that was like really cool to see, and awesome, and you know, so I'll caveat, like I do see stuff, but very infrequently. Like I didn't see Barbie, I didn't see Oppenheimer. I don't pay attention to most stuff, and if I see a movie now, it's because I'm taking my kids to go see like Mighty Pups, you know, 3D extravaganza, whatever or you know, we'll probably go see Minions 4 or whatever. Okay, I mean, I'll see the new stuff, but what I like to do is actually what I do now is I go back to okay, yeah, well, you know, Christopher Nolan kind of, I treat him at arm's length because I was a big Christopher Nolan. Like I went and saw, I was the first person I knew who saw Memento. I read about it in the Hollywood Weekly or whatever, like the shitty rag. Back when Christopher Nolan was nothing. Memento was like a new thing. And I saw it like twice a week and pulled all my friends to go see it because I was like, this guy's like the new guy. And, you know, and then I saw Inception and I was like, okay, I'm not sure if I'm on the Christopher Nolan train anymore. I still like, you know, all the Batmans and stuff like that. He can be a little hit and miss. If he... Too much Christopher Nolan-iness, it can be an issue. But he knows what he's doing. And I do appreciate like that is a good example of someone who's demonstrating a repudiation of the addiction to CG. So I very greatly appreciate that about him. I got to do some drawing here, but I definitely. But thank you for. You've done well to engage me in the chat without having me absolutely go off on one of my Donald Duck tantrums. Oh, cool. Yeah, we'll do that another time. Remind me another time. I'll do it. So what happened here is, Destiny, you were away for a bit. Faye, I know you're in the chat. Thank you for joining. The Faye, who was in Italy, so I don't know if it's past their bedtime or whatever, or they're just waking up, but it's noon here in LA. These were the Tektites I was drawing originally, and because I just needed a different design other than so what happened was, this was the original Tektite design from the game booklet, but they were too circular and not angry enough looking. They were like too sad looking. I redesigned them like this, and that was just the first thing I came up with. But after sleeping on it for a while, and you know, and Faye was right to point out that they look like they would belong better in like a Doom video game. Yeah, the Arachnotrons from like the original Doom game. And a lot of that, I think, had to do... Well, also, it plus added, you know, these are like the Predator mandibles. And then, you know, anytime you've got like exoskeleton that looks like bone, like this sort of anatomical bone stuff, like that's like Doom. Doom owns that pretty much. And or like H.R. Geiger. So then what I did was I just started from scratch with them, and I tried to come up with something. I was like, this has to feel like Zelda. So I thought that felt more like Zelda. And I think it does too, but then I wanted to edge it up a bit more, and I feel like this is in a decent place. So I'm going with this design now. So this is the one. So they're all roughed out in here now. And I am adding these. They look nice. They're gonna be just fine. They'll be just fine. Now I just have to remember how to draw, because it's been a weekend of... Because the Union was doing all this shenanigans, I got severely depressed, and I've just been... Well, I've been with my family and you know, having fun with my friends and stuff, but I've been also drinking with a purpose of expressing my nihilism and contempt for stuff. But so anyway, these are going to be some shitty drawings, but you know, I'll warm up eventually. I'll get into making some good ones, but yeah, what you guys can't see is over here, like in this other chat, like is this scrolling discourse on Discord of people on Facebook and in my union that are just absolutely pissed. We all just feel like we got thrown under the bus. I have some very conspiratorial personal theories about, you know, because essentially the union leadership got everything they wanted, everything they asked for, like in terms of money. You know, they asked for and got from the producers, and the thing they gave up was the AI. So apparently it was very important, very, very important. It was worth all the marbles, basically, and they came back with it as this win. And what's going to happen is IATSE is this giant international... Well, it's international. It's the in the United States. It's the majority of entertainment labor union people. So there's SAG, which is Screen Actors Guild, and WGA, which is the Writers Guild. Those are not in IATSE. So when they had their own issues with AI contracts last year, you remember last year, the actors and the writers were striking. They struck in part because of the AI stuff, because they wouldn't give up on the AI stuff. So the producers didn't want to give up any money, and so they had to strike. In our case, the producers were like, we'll give you anything you want, all the money, just give us the AI. Hey, Ham. Faye, no, you can't interrupt. Yes, you can interrupt, but you can... Don't be surprised if I don't exactly pay attention to it, because I'm on a rant. I'm ranting right now. But yes, I'm extremely upset with the leadership that said, you know, they literally said, artists, embrace AI. After the actors said, no, you can't just fucking replace us with AI. And the writers said, no, you can't just fucking replace us with AI. And they all went and struck over it. Our leadership says, artists, be prepared to be replaced with AI. You know, so it's a little... and like my immediate craft leader, you know, the people that are essentially running the craft that I'm in, which is the Art Directors Guild. They do the storyboard stuff as well as set design and graphic artists and matte painting. All, you know, lots of cool crafts are in my guild. The leadership here, who's just completely out of touch, everybody agrees, it's just like these guys, men, women, they gotta go. We're like, we're really concerned that this is job replacement technology, and I can't quote them because surprise, surprise, this meeting was not recorded, so I won't have any evidence other than my shitty memory. But they basically said, guys, I don't know what to tell you. People get replaced. So that was the and like, this was a big Zoom meeting that we all attended, and we all sort of collectively, like, jaws dropped, like face palmed, like shook our heads, like going like this. Like 125 artists were like asking questions like, what have you done? Because the serious issue with this stuff is once the bargaining is done and it goes to vote, like, we can't change the language in the contract without striking. And they're not going to strike, because what's going to happen, this is the broader issue. So I voted no. Everybody in my craft voted no. Yes, it is time to open up my own studio. The broader issue is that IATSE, which is this big umbrella union that I'm part of, they actually, you know, they're the ones that struck the bargain with the producers over these terms, and they can't rewrite like, even though we're flipping our shit over it, it's too late to rewrite the contract. We're voting on it, and what's happening now is I'm in the same umbrella of a union that the carpenters are in, that the guys who rope up the electrical cables are in, that the people that hang the lights are in, the people that saw the pieces of lumber to build the stages and do the rivets and haul the sandbags, like, you know, guys who actually work for a living, quote unquote, guys and girls that actually work for a living. They don't see AI as the existential threat to what they do, the same way that we, the artists, do. And, you know, so it's like all these crafts are gonna vote, and they all got the money that they wanted, but the artist said, hey, we're gonna be replaced by AI, we vote no, and everyone else says, that's okay, we're all voting yes, and then it gets pushed through. So, like it or not, the terms of this deal, unless everybody just sort of has this sort of brilliant leap of logic to understand that, like, hey, replacing artists on sets today means replacing entire sets, you know, 10 years from now or something like that. They'll all be out of jobs or whatever. Like, I mean, it's hypothetical, but it could happen, you know? And so, but that's too much of a leap of logic for them to sort of, you can't really expect people like who have already been out of work for 2 years to be like, yeah, but I need the money. They're going to be like, I need the money and we need to get back to work. And I'm going to say, I agree with you. I agree with you on that point. But it all just feels very calculated. And it just feels like we're the victim of the trolley problem on this one. Now, if I still work, I still have a job and stuff like that, I'll still be grateful. But I'm not going to have warm, fuzzy solidarity union feelings for the guild leadership from here on out. It's sort of like, okay, well, it's all solidarity until they need a sacrificial lamb, and You know, the producers selected the artists to be the ones. They didn't get it from the writers. They didn't get it from the actors. They're getting it now. Unless some sort of act of God between here and Wednesday happens, probably all the voting is already done anyway. But it's all over but the counting. But the likelihood of AI becoming a very much endorsed proposition in Hollywood from here on out is a foregone conclusion. The only thing that could happen now is, let's see here. Two things could happen. AI folds as a giant bubble, because it is one, and that would come at a huge, terrible risk because the stock market is about the only thing propping up our economy, which for most people in general, I think is kind of in shambles. Unless you happen to be heavily exposed to stock risk. If you are, then it would be very bad if your portfolio of AI stocks took a nosedive. It's all connected, so it would be bad for everything as far as like finances go. That wouldn't put people back to work. But what could happen is if the government AI stuff, if their lobbying efforts don't work out the way they want them to, AI could continue to be the subject of more and more legal scrutiny, akin to what happened in Napster. And then Napster, of course, was reborn as other types of peer-to-peer technologies that, were like cockroaches that never went away. And I was a big Napster fan, so I don't have any ground to stand on in opposition of stuff like that. But I wouldn't be sad if AI tech and usage of AI tech was pushed into the realm of that kind of, I don't know. For me, I think of them historically as like pirated software, wares, and P2P sharing entities like LimeWire and iMesh and stuff like that. Torrent sites, those possibly technically legal in the country that it operates or whatever, or if you squint and and hide or whatever, you can get away with that stuff for a while. And I'm not a purist with my media consumption or anything like that. Got plenty of illegally downloaded MP3s on this hard drive over there, but I just don't listen to them. Spotify is easier. Just integrates nicely with my iPhone, so my pirating days are long gone. But so yeah, either severe, massive copyright enforcement happens, which I have a hard time seeing that happen, but maybe it does. Because the thing is, like, the musicians had the RIAA, and all of the lawyers in the world, going at it on like the biggest legal case of their entire careers. Their only focus showing why and how and the importance of immediately shutting down Napster and all the like. And so they were able to do that. Now artists have no such entity. I mean, there are artists that Faye, show it to me later. I'm on a discourse, but I'm glad you've got that done. And Hage, welcome. It's good to see you, man. Yeah, I've been ranting about the union issue. So, it's just God, what should we have here? Should there be like some sort of mouth? kind of mouth do crabs have? Anyway, so that's why I was drunk for 3 days straight and forgot how to draw, but I'm getting back into it now. I hope everybody's doing okay, whatever you're doing. But yeah, more AI in the things that you'll see coming out of Hollywood. Looks like that is that's the takeaway here. Hage, rant might be over for now. We'll see. Faye, if you have a link to your game, I promise I'll open it up if you post it, and we can all gush about it for a second, and all that. Yes, I do. All right. Faye has developed a tabletop game that I will give it my endorsement. I want everybody to know I endorse this. I don't even need to click on it. Let's see here. I'll click on it. You don't have to. This looks okay. War of Wood. I love that. This is great. All right. All right, this is very good. Is this on... What is this thing? Follow, Faye? Okay, I'll do that later. Let's see here. War of Wood, a print-to-play strategic tabletop card game based on... See, much like you and you all are endorsing my creative things, I want to endorse yours. Itch.io. Itch.io. Interesting. The Faye is a whiz with cardboard fun. And crafting the tiles, folding the cards, assembling the hexagonal battlefield, then 2 players will pick a faction, then fight to the death. It's good. Faye, maybe brighten up this type. It's a little dark for my old-ass eyes. Iterate. Work on this every day. Make it look better and better and better until... And you can keep showing me stuff. Like, I want to see this look... This looks good, and I like the concept. War of Wood is really funny. I hope you can take that in the spirit in which I'm intending it. This is... I love the accessibility and sort of like because what this looks like is like make your own game with stuff you have at home, right? And like that's great. That's a great concept. So everybody, cheers to Faye. Making shit is difficult. Coming up with shit is difficult. So, and then the hardest part is yep. His hardest part is having the balls to put it out, or whatever anatomy you have that impels you to, you know, metaphorically, we all need a little moxie, right? So, yes, Kiki. You can have another juice. If you need my help to open it, you can let me know. Okay. That was my daughter, Kiki. She's in summer school today. Or she's on summer break today. So, that's all that. Okay, now I gotta figure out what the rest of this stuff looks like. This is taking way too long. So I'm okay with these things looking like crabs, just not bones. So we can have these sort of overlapping segments. Some somewhat overlapping scalloped edges. Do you need help to get it? Okay. Everybody, I'll be right back. Bit of juice love. Yep, yep. Get those, flex those ovaries. This Zelda project is probably the most ambitious thing I've done. Being interested in doing any kind of Twitch stuff, it's you know, you expose yourself a little bit and some vulnerabilities and all that, but I have to repudiate the evil that is AI and fake artists that are flexing their non-creative skills, quote unquote. Jesus, can't even call them skills. Their ability to type in an order as if it was a creative cheeseburger into some creative laundering machine is nothing to be impressed about. And I have seen, I don't know if it's as widespread as some would say, but I have seen real artists put their stuff out and then be accused of, hey, that looks like AI or whatever. And so now, knowing that my plan with this is to make them look amazing and that they may have similar sorts of assumptions, because how could a human draw an amazing crab without reference, or you know, a Tektite just come up with it without any reference? It's like, no, it is possible. Well, I guess I did have reference. I used that thing, but then I didn't I didn't want that reference because it looked like shit, so I had to come up with stuff from my own imagination. Anyway, it's not impossible for people to think of their own ideas, but the AI companies want you to think it is. So I'm not into that. I don't want to buy into that. Anyway, I know a lot of people are just watching this on their lunch break or whatever. I'm going to go till 2 p.m., which is an hour and a half from now, or until my headphones die, whichever one is sooner. Thanks, Faye. Faye, thank you for your input the other day, your honesty about the spiders not looking as good as they should have. I mean, they looked good for what they were, but what they were was more Doom stuff. This needed to be like this. I think it is, while difficult to receive such unfiltered feedback. No, I'm kidding. But it stings for a minute. But the reality is that, you know, I don't want to draw. I want this to be the best reflection of my ability to visually solve Zelda stuff. And if it's not hitting right, I need to know that. Because I'll convince myself, you know, smart people, I'm not saying I'm smart, but smart people can convince themselves of anything if it's convenient. That doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it actually true. I don't tend to get a lot of negative feedback on my drawings, usually because I'm good at what I do and I demonstrate it well. People, you know, it might bug people. Something about a composition or something might bug someone, but it's not always clear what it is that needs to get fixed, and so they can hesitate and just think, well, maybe it's just my imagination or whatever. But I do want to know if something isn't looking right, like if Link's sword sucks here. Like, I think right now, actually, I'm looking at it, it might be too small. Might have to make it bigger, but it's okay. I'll make that happen. This guy is like the major focal point Tektite, so I'm trying to like I'm learning like now how to draw them again from scratch. So he's taken a while, but the other ones I'll probably try to speed through a little bit better. Hage, are you still in the chat? What have you been up to? Did you see what Eric Yamamoto posted? He may be gone, but my buddy Eric, he won't be offended if because it's a plug, man. I gotta plug this guy. He posted a very... This was the balls on this guy. Speaking of balls, the balls on Eric Yamamoto to... he basically did a political cartoon about the AI IATSE situation. Oh, man. Here, no spoilers here. I already liked it on my main Insta account, but this is the... Sorry, this... if anybody in chat is underage, avert your precious virgin eyes, but the... this is a very crude depiction of... well, maybe I won't name them by name since Eric didn't name them here, but this is a very very serviceable caricature of the people who rep us artists in the union negotiations, and I think this does a good job of summing up the sentiment of how we're sort of depicting the attitudes of people who advocate for our craft to the producers. This is I don't know who this is particularly, but they do bear a passing resemblance to someone who has a symbol like that associated with their company. And of course, there's nothing wrong with gulping large amounts of semen. This is a perfectly... There's nothing wrong with that at all. What's funny about this is the gratifying nature of their sort of like a little bit... I can't help but feel a little bit taunted by the enthusiasm with which they display their deference to their new overlords. So sorry about the crudeness, everybody. I never said this was a chat for babies. But my feelings are echoed in there. To be done to make sure that this arm feels like it's coming towards us in space, which it feels like it's a little ambivalent right now. Feels a little more clear. I don't necessarily want these to look like elbows, so I'm gonna have to do something. I don't mind a little. Didn't look like an elbow, and then I make it look like an elbow, but a little bit is not necessarily bad. I just want to make it consistent. Now, how did I draw the hands? These are just goobers. It's tricky stuff. Something about it maybe could be a little bit more like I'm okay with exposing a little bit of something that feels like maybe they can expand or contract a little bit, so that the materiality of the fingers here feels like it's not just armored exoskeleton literally everywhere. Something that feels like it could flex where it would need to and have like a bunch of rubber bands or something. Essentially, they have to feel like they can tense up and jump and squirm around a bit in between these rocks, right? I've been a bit of a downer this this stream, but I do really appreciate, even lurkers, of course, I don't know if it's fun to hear me vent. I don't want to do it all the time, but having some people to talk to about this stuff is helpful for me. What will happen will be a big shift in... It's potentially the biggest thing that can happen to artists that do stuff like what I do. The language in the contract, and you can arguably say that it will allow it makes it look like Hollywood is embracing AI in a way that helps bolster any claims that they'll have before Congress, for instance, that like, okay, well, is this even necessary? This contract makes it look like, well, Congressman, look at this. Even Hollywood says that they won't be able to do what they need to do without AI. Which, of course, no one is saying that seriously. But with all the money in the world, they can lobby this stuff. They can lobby this stuff into... I don't know. It's just really scary. Even if they can't replace storyboard artists yet, there's enough rhetoric thinking that they can eventually. They're going to try. And if they try for long enough without hiring storyboard artists, then my craft is just going to die anyway, whether or not they succeeded. I don't know. It's like, didn't the Spanish conquistadors like rampage through South America looking for the, well, there were cities of gold, there was the fountain of youth, like all the mystical things that they were looking for. I mean, they found gold, but not a city made of gold. That didn't happen. But the damage was done. Damage as if same damage. Can't just be a handful of us left to carry on the torch. You need hundreds of people to make a craft, and if there's not enough work to sustain us all, it will die. But I'll say something that cheered me up the other day. I saw that Nintendo said that they have no intention of using AI in any of their video game development, or hopefully that extends to their other projects. So I was encouraged by that. Hopefully that means good things for this project. And time will tell. This leg is too thick. Ooh, I gotta save my work. Everybody save your work. And then here I am on this other channel, trying to get permission to show the boards I did for that Batman project. There's an interesting... Where is it? There it it is. There's a storyboard category for the 2024 Concept Art Awards. And I have 2 projects that would be really cool to submit. But part of their qualifying is I have to have permission, which makes sense, of course. Permission from the people who paid me to submit my stuff. And that makes sense, of course. But that's not so easy to get. Because the people that paid me are not necessarily the people that own the property. People that own the property might have rules, different rules for vendors than they do for their own artistic staff. I'm doing my best. I'm asking 2 clients on 2 separate projects for permission right now. But I'm not receiving the answers. I'm not receiving any sort of response yet, which is frustrating because I'm really trying to I'm trying to think of ways that I can make storyboarding and the work that I do overall less invisible. It's very much a hidden thing. People don't get to see what we do, and we get no credit for it other than payment. And now with AI, we're not even going to get the payment because they're training all this shit with our output. I'm a little bit unsure as to why I should follow rules that don't have any benefit to me. It's sort of rules for thee but not for me. I'm trying to guess what this thing looks like. Overthinking it. I think just as long as it looks consistent, it'll look good. Man, the difference in how you handle a stylus on Monday versus a Friday. Just feels like all the drawing muscles I've had the weekend to sort of tense up or relax. I'm not sure what's happened. It just has a different feel. Okay, I have 1 hour to draw all the rest of these bugs. Let's see if I can do it. No more mistakes. I mean, half the problem is I'm designing as I'm going, because obviously in that rough sketch, I couldn't have had everything all figured out exactly. You know, the way I'm drawing the joints down here is different than the way I drew the joints up here. I knew they would change, and thus they did change. And still, yet more things will probably need to get more adjusted and fixed as it goes, but offering that up by way of explanation as to why it's taking forever to draw just one of these things. But let's see if we can make the others go faster. Now it's a time race. Some things you want to rush, and other things it doesn't make sense to. If something is so incredibly important to the focal point of a drawing, it doesn't make sense to rush it. But almost nothing should be labored over to the point of being overworked. This sort of design has a very, I don't know, it feels very appropriately like 80s anime. Like, I don't mind that at all. Or the design of the armor in the Bram Stoker film, to the Dracula film. I've realized something, and I tend to do this, which is what I forget. Hey man, what's up, dude? What a dude, what a dude. Yeah, got the old all the fams here. I've been here lamenting, cursing the fates of the union and all that stuff with the AI. But I'm done ranting about it now. How are you, man? Yeah, I went to Universal Studios yesterday. Let me model this out. It's quite fresh to death. I haven't even washed it yet. I don't know if that's gross or cool, but Rusty Burger. This is Universal Studios. I bought it yesterday. Lots of fun. I'll tell you the, oh, I came up with a... Unistud. I'm gonna call it Unistud. No, that doesn't sound good. Unistude. Universal Studios is the, okay, keep working. You can lurking and working. The crispy, crusty shirt. They, you know, they don't have the best rides, but their rides are fun there. And if you go when the lines aren't long, and you can see on the app if the lines are long, that is how you can tell, like, if the park is overcrowded or if you'll go and regret it. So we've kind of got the system down now where it's we go, because we have passes, so we can go for like 3 hours, 3-4 hours, have a good time, go on like 3 rides, buy snacks, and be home without even, you know, disrupting the bedtime routine for the kids. And it's been a good deal. And Julie was encouraging me to get a shirt, so that's what I did. I got a shirt. Before I noticed you were in the chat, I was talking about how I wasn't drawing well today. And of course, I'm drawing perfectly well, but what I'm doing is making a lot of mistakes, and I was talking about how my pen wasn't feeling right, or my hand wasn't feeling right. But what is actually happening is I'm just pressing down too hard with the stylus. Unnecessarily hard. I know better than to do that. I know that if I draw with like a lighter stroke, see, I don't have to draw like this. Right, you will, well, you won't ruin your nubs that fast, but if you draw the lighter stroke, your nubs will last forever. And that's important because these things aren't free. But you also don't need to have as much control with the strokes that you make. You can be looser. And then, instead of drawing with big, thick lines to start with, you just double them up after the fact and make them dark that way. So instead of stabbing them in, you can just sort of brush them in. Boxer, you weren't there for the original. There wasn't any sort of real controversy, but I'd come to realize that the Tektite design that I had before was too much like those Doom bad guys, the Arachnotrons. And they needed to be revised to be more like Zelda. So we've gone back to the single eye. Not much expressive stuff in terms of mouth. They, you know, previously they had like Tektites are a little funky in the Zelda cartoon Tektite. How did that look like? The Zelda cartoon Tektite, they yeah, these guys. That's funny. Here we go. Go silly. Is that like, yeah, weird spiders? I mean, it made sense to think of them that way, I think. I mean, am I wrong though, or is this? Like, that's an eye. That's clearly an eye. With big lids up and down. And I know that, like, normally a spider's eyes would be, like, up here. That makes sense, but they're not. Like, that's the eye. Or is that supposed to be a mouth? What do you think? Is that a mouth? Is this a mouth, or was it an eye? To me, it's an eye. It's like a big eye. And I've seen the... Like, it's too much like this. Right? So, here, we'll see it. Here's artwork for, like, the original Line Mola. You know, it's like the artist has this affinity for these big eyes. So to me, it's clear. But like, if another artist looked at that and said, like, okay, well, that's a mouth, and that's, like, one tooth. Like, it's got a tooth, you know? Ocarina of Time Tektite? I don't even remember those. Let's see here. Okay, it's like these guys. Okay, that's similar to what I'm drawing. I mean, not worlds apart from... Yeah. Yeah, it's more or less compatible with what I'm designing. It's an eyeball. So, don't ask me how they eat. Yeah, I think it's a great interpretation. It definitely doesn't feel as doomy. I wanted it to be Zelda-y. I feel like this is probably as close as I'll get while still making it look fearsome. Because, like, some of these, like, if it's got to have a big eye, then that's difficult, because you've got, it's just like one big eye with no mouth, so it's like, how is it supposed to emote? You know, I want it to look fearsome and scary. Oh, good. Yeah. The original guy looks like... Look, I was drawing these guys before. Better for worse, but, yeah. Not ideal. Here I am drawing on the wrong layer the entire time. That's not so good. So... Ugh, yawning on stream. Cardinal sin. I need, like, a sign that says, no yawning, no smacking, no scratching. Although you do that stuff. I've seen you burp extremely loud on stream, actually. I'm pulling up your Twitch now. 991 followers. You are almost there, man. What happens if you get 1,000? Do you get, like... It's giving me shit. I gotta press one of these buttons or something. What happens if I click Super Ultra Combo 2023? No, go back. Don't do that. Be yourself. Yeah, who cares? Be yourself. Make this thing go away. Oh, there it goes. Figure out something to do. Yeah. Right when you get to, like, 999, I'm gonna unfollow you so your number goes down. No, I won't do that. No, I won't do that. That's kind of funny. But that would be a cool milestone. I've been checking in on it. It's kind of been at $9.99 for a while. Are you out of your mind? Who could unfollow you? What did you do? It's because you burped on stream. You belched and farted and passed gas, and you were too much yourself. That's a good strategy. Clear the room, so to speak. See, running into this, that arm is too. Yeah, these arms need to be longer because I'm not only changing their design. It's like I want them to have a little bit more oomph with the length of their spidery appendages. Okay, remind myself. Draw light. I'm now drawing for the final. There's these weird paradoxes with drawing where it's like you feel like you need more control, so you exert more effort, but then things look weirder. Hey Kiki, what's up? I'm on a stream. Uncle John is looking right now. Do you want to say hi? He says hi. He says hi. Kiki is unbrushed and unwashed. Kiki, go get a hairbrush. Come brush it. Come brush your hair. She supposedly spiked a fever last night. I don't see any evidence of her being sick, but she doesn't even have camp today, so she's been watching a Trolls marathon, which is not a bad film, especially for kids, I guess. I don't mind that at all. Once you fully give over your power to your fate as someone who has kids is going to be forced to listen to endless amounts of infuriatingly insipid music, you do start to appreciate, well, like, okay, well, at least this tune's catchy or whatever, or maybe it just wears you down. You start to like it over time. I think that's what's happening. What would I think now if like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was released now? What would I think of that theme song? Would it drive me insane, or would I find it as amping as I did back then? Brush your hair. You already did? And it's beautiful. Okay. What's... You want me to dance to it?
Yeah.
How about I do that in a little bit? In about 40 minutes I'll be done streaming, okay? So like watch a show or something. So cute. I know, I should dance. Well, what song was it, Kiki? Kiki. I don't think I have the means right now to dance for the audience, but we'd have to pull it up here, and then she wouldn't be able to hear it because it's outputting to my headphones. I'm really shaggy right now. I gotta get a haircut. A trim. I'm attempting to make it long again. What nickname? Kiki? Oh, okay. Yeah. Whereas, you know, some aspects of my life are private. My daughter is a public figure. She is no worries there. Her real name is Karen. So in the U.S., that is a very unfortunate name to have these days. So yeah, we haven't been calling her that much, but by the time she grows up, that'll be water under the bridge with all that stuff. She can and should, you know, redeem the name Karen. I think it's possible. Yeah, it didn't mean anything when we... It's always a topic of discussion for me, but when you name your children and you're not naming them specifically after somebody or whatever, you're sometimes just picking out a name that sounds good. And hey, first off, it has to sound good. And then secondly, it can't be a name that has negative associations for either partner. So you end up going with like names that sound original. I never in my life had met a Karen, and neither had she, and we both liked the way it sounded. So it was about as simple as that. But then the whole internet happened, so... She does. Her middle name is Quinn. Yeah, no, she's gonna redeem all Karens. We don't really... When she was a baby, we called her Quinn. But her personality lent herself more to the we were hedging a little bit. We were, you know, we weren't trying to be, you know, especially in the area that I live in, you know, we're sort of like, in general, I think there's a lot of embracing of sort of new ideas about, like, I don't know if you know about all the terms like heteronormative and you know, not trying to force down anybody's throat a bunch of gender stereotypes and stuff. So we had a very sort of neutral color scheme for her her nursery room and the toys that we bought her and stuff like that. And just in case she didn't have the personality of someone who is especially girly, quote unquote, but turns out just very much into basically being Little Miss Popular, and that's who she is. So and Kiki is just a perfect name for her. Yeah. Yeah, we tried to do the right thing. Well, on the other hand, it's like also Kiki is a very easy well, some exceptions aside, she's like a very easy kid. And my son, who is also wonderful and really smart and a treasure, but he is very willful and extremely his tantrums are like, oh, they're just and those like the first thing in the morning he'll be throwing tantrums, and it's I do all my tricks and I'm trying to be patient and all that stuff until eventually I just have to be like, stop it, stop screaming at me, and then he's like, oh, okay, and he's like cheerful, and he's acts normal, and I think he was just tired this morning, but he's having it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So that's my way of saying not a perfect parent here. Definitely that ship has sailed. Definitely not perfect, but if we've had any sort of advantage, it's we certainly didn't rush into having children. Yeah, you would throw tantrums. Not bad. I mean, like Robbie is. It's tricky with Robbie because he doesn't reward like if you're nice to him, he totally takes advantage of it, and then like treats you like he owns you, and does naughty things. But if you start out the day and you're like serious and you make it clear like you're not going to take a bunch of his shit, he's like acts perfectly well. So what ends up happening is over the weekend they spend too much time with my wife, and my wife loves her children, but she kind of babies them and indulges them, and I don't do any of that stuff. Like she'll be like, ooh, let's go out and get yogurt, like for no reason, all the time, like every day if she could. And I don't do that stuff. Now, partly because I'm lazy. The other part is I know it's not good for them to be rewarded for being good. Like, yeah, you're good. Thank you for being good. That's not a reward. Like if you pass your belt test in karate, then you get a reward, sort of thing. You don't get a reward just for existing and being good. But even with that, she is still an amazing parent and an amazing wife. So I love her, and we don't really argue about stuff like that. It's just sort of, I wish the children were better about reciprocating her feelings towards them. Because the way it ends up being is it just feels like they take advantage, and I wish they didn't. That's human nature, though. Hi, Geeks. What's up? Well, half an hour left. Are you hungry? Do you need water? Do you need see the song? What song is it? What's the name of the song? Are you? Oh, you've got it paused for me right now. No, 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 no! Don't do that. Show me later. Show me in half an hour. Just watch your movie and then rewind it later and I'll take a look at it. There's just this really cool little brother syndrome. And in truth, like, because I remember my brother at that same age, sort of doing that. I sort of, like, I recognize, like, I'm like, okay, well, these are fake tears. My wife falls for them, but I'm like, this is fake. Like, he's faking it. He's playing it up for the camera, and he does behavior around her that he would never do around me because he knows I don't fall for it. But my wife's a sucker, so that's okay. John was Boxer was a perfect younger brother. Nothing wrong there. Wonder if anything's happening this week. Oh man, you gave us that thing. Yeah, we signed that notary thing. Okay, so now I gotta actually send that out in the mail. Oh yeah. Okay, so that's on this week's to-do list. We get so busy, we forget to do things. Like, important things that... It's like my daily life. Tiny spiders over here. Tiny spiders over there. Kiki, do you need me to wipe your butt? Okay. Well, work might be slow today, but I'm glad I got a solid stream in. Right. They're not really thinking about it in terms of, like, you did this nice thing for me, so I'm going to do this nice thing for you. Which I take as carte blanche to not do nice things for your children. I'm just kidding. No, but like we absolutely, you know, work hard to make sure that their needs are met, and that they have activities and all the things that children need for thriving. It's all the other extra stuff that I don't understand why she feels the need to. Why she feels guilty if we aren't also doing those other things, because those things are, a lot of that is just where society pits parents to compete against each other in the race to be the world's best parent. Oh, so now you did make a poo. Okay, here I come. Here I come. Let's see. Good job, Kiki. Yeah, grateful for every healthy poo in this house, in this household. All right. Washed my hands. I have honored chat by washing my darn hands after wiping a butt. Hey, you must be in remote Italy stuff or something, huh? Are you in like the mountains? I mean, the internet in LA sucks too, so... Oh, you're not in the mountains. Then you have no excuse. But you get it off your phone. I forgot. Sorry about that. Don't stress. Don't stress. If you haven't noticed, this project is moving at a glacial pace. I can imagine someone who might have been watching a few months ago getting curious, coming back and seeing that I'm still working on like the same images. Have you thought of having an overlay? What would an overlay do? Oh, like an overlay of the chat? Is that what you mean? Is that what we were discussing? Like an overlay, like it would be there? That would mean you're organizing my screen. What you mean, my screen isn't cool looking? No, it's okay. Yeah, no, I'm interested in bells and whistles to an extent. So one thing that I've been more or less forcing myself to do is work on things like work first, and then embellishments are a distant second priority. So yes, let me answer in this way. Now that I actually have a project that feels solid, that is being worked on, and what feels, it's a modest but existing audience, and while I'm not able to stream perfectly regularly, I do stream many times a month at this point. I'm cool and appealing. I seduce the audience with my luscious locks and my silky voice and my dead cats on the wall, and but I am interested in things that feel like they are good for chat, or something good for the stream, but it's also I don't want to do things that feel like they might detract from my own personal goal of having something to show for the effort as well. So if it feels like it's all about making things look cool, but ultimately having nothing to show for, like, it's like make a cool Kickstarter campaign and the campaign is off the chain and it's amazing, but then like the product never arises, then it's like the wrong priorities were probably focused on. Maybe that's a bad analogy, but I know that I can assert now that I'm confident that what I'm sort of working on is good. I think I give good stream, and there's no necessarily inherent conflict in me diverting some mental resources to thinking about like, okay, well, how can I take my broadcast game to the next level or whatever. What about the screen is super disorganized? I mean, I know it's got that like the overlay, like it's all like compartmentalized, like over here, like you've got it's like a video game setup. I could make it look like Zelda, where it's like my inventory is over here and like my map is over there, and are we talking about that kind of thing where we've got like do you guys remember the old like Game Boy Advance? Yeah, that's the old Super Nintendo, and you could plug in your Game Boy game and you would have this like wrap around the edges of the screen that would be like a graphic that would sometimes be about. Yeah, because that's what I'm worried about. Is it's like I also want this experience in some ways to be a repudiation. I use that word too much, but like a repudiation of the dopamine-driven micro bit. Like the other people who do that stuff, that's great. I'm sure Boxer does it too, but I don't want to. I don't know. I don't want that to be something that I don't want to do things that drive engagement other than and if it's like whatever engagement I get is just going to come from the work and the chat and my personality, and if there's deficiencies there, then I'll accept the results. But I don't want to have it be like an amount of makeup, digital broadcast makeup that makes things more or less successful. That said, I'm going to change my mind tomorrow and just totally sell out, and I'll like there's nothing wrong with like the VTubing stuff, for instance. Especially like that's a cool way to like anonymize yourself a little bit. But my whole thing is like I'm so good looking, right? Like I have to. I'm just kidding, but like I really am trying to like give a sense of what I really do for work, and since I don't do that stuff in my work, I don't think I want to do too much of that stuff in a stream. If that doesn't sound too much like bullshit, I think there's some truth there. There's also sort of like, it's like probably a little technical. I'm probably a little lazy. Keep it simple rule, yeah. Keep it sexy, stupid. Right. I'm okay with it. But, like, I'm also kind of like... I know it's hard to tell, but I'm a little bit older. And, not particularly hep with all the cool kids doing the cool stuff. So, Like, I don't want to be like the Twitch version of that. Like, how do you do, fellow kids? If I do that, like, I'll never say never, but for right now, it's not going to be a big priority. Not over. If it so, I'll put it this way: if it feels like I've like hit a ceiling with engagement, and you know, there's no other way for me to drive traffic or get my word out, I don't even know if I'm like, you know, let me work on my hone my voice a little bit. Like, what am I trying to do with this project? Do I have anything to really sell to people once they get here, like in terms of my winning personality? The stream is decently good. I know the artwork is good and on its way to getting better. I think what I might expect is so what's going to happen is in the next few weeks, so I've got this drawing, and then these it's all upside down right now. So you can see the project here. So far, there are 12 other images as well that come after this sequence. But these ones are the most farthest along, and what I'm going to start doing is after I get, you know, and these look like they're shaded, but they're not. These are more or less just loosely prepped for shading. But the shading that's indicated here is not indicative of what the final shading would be. It might hint to what, like, obviously this is like light, and so you could expect it to somewhat follow this composition with the light and dark stuff. Same thing here. But with a lot of this stuff, it might be hard to see now, but it's got a long way to go with a lot of this stuff, and it's going to be very very cool to see how we go from this to the finished piece. And I feel like at that point, like, I'll kind of want like more people to be tuning into it. I might try to, maybe I'll get like 1 or 2 of these done, and then I'll, like, I don't know what I'll do. I'll post about it on Reddit. I don't know. It feels so cringy to like self-promote and stuff like that. But, you know, if I do nothing, no one might see it, and that might suck. But also, I'm not. My life doesn't depend on views. Who am I kidding? Yes, it does. More views. This isn't something that needs to pan out immediately. If all I end up with is a small audience and a nice portfolio of Zelda drawings to start with, then it's mission accomplished, because that's awesome. Yeah, possibly. I feel like I'm not sure how to take what comes off of a Twitch stream and put it onto a TikTok. And there are other factors, like with my job as someone who's supposed to be behind the scenes, it may not be necessarily a good strategic move to make it look like I could be, like, part of why I get hired is people know that they can trust me not to open my mouth and spill the beans about important projects. If it feels like I'm a significant leak possibility, like, oh, people are gonna be like, Max, tell us what you're working on, that might very well detract from my appeal as someone who is a go-to for storyboarding. Be like, well, Max is awesome, but he's popular now, and we know what happens to artists who get popular on TikTok, they disappear and or become unreliable as their priorities shift. And vice versa, what has happened many times, because I've seen it happen on projects where they'll be like, oh, we're bringing in this artist from, I won't name names, but popular artists are often sort of roped in to, popular Instagram artist roped in to work on a commercial campaign. It's like, go design something for this commercial campaign. It's always a disaster because they're not used to working in a pipeline. I'm okay with doing some... I might be the exception, sure. I can... Well, what's also true about why I'm doing this is I need a backup plan just in case my whole career evaporates anyway. Like if having done no wrong and followed the rules my entire life, my storyboarding career still just goes belly up because of, you know, union contract negotiation shenanigans and or industry dying or whatever. I'm gonna need some sort of outlet to get my work out there, get my voice out there, and find new things that need me to draw for them for money, or at least try to do that. People who are not in the industry like watching people work on their stuff and learning from them. Yeah. Well, then that's the thing about the Zelda thing is that this has to be it. I had to come up with my own project because if it was a real project, like some of the real stuff that I do, I wouldn't be able to broadcast it. That's by definition, my job had to be secret. It was all behind the scenes. It's not published yet. And in this case, like, there's a weird paradox here. I'm doing this in order to make a portfolio to, you know, impress theoretically someone at Nintendo who might see it. Like, you hear stories about people who, like, oh, I drew fan artwork for The Last of Us and Naughty Dog saw it, and, you know, next thing I know, I'm living in LA and I'm gonna, like, I heard that story. And that's sort of the story I'm hoping to make happen here. But the other weird thing is that in some ways, by doing this, I almost sort of negate my chances because, you know, the stuff that I develop outside of Nintendo's pay is not going to be something that they're going to want to actually bring in on a Zelda film. It could be, I suppose, but like, I'm not supposed to have ideas apart from what the director gives me, you know. And if I do that, that's not good. So this is, while it is part of like that equation, what I'm doing here is really just sort of a broader, growing an audience. Because the chances of me getting hired on a Nintendo project, Zelda aside, like on any kind of cool Nintendo project, are very slim, especially the way I'm going about it here. I'm aware of that, so... But I'm pretending to be ignorant about it, and we can just... Like you said, maybe I'll be the exception. In the meanwhile, practicing my teaching skills. These are like soft teaching skills, presentation skills, a bit of fluency with streaming and handling an audience, cultivating an audience. What are those skills? How do I do that? That's really what I'm trying to develop right now, focusing on that stuff, getting good at that. And once that happens, I'll be well on my way to getting to where I will need to be after my storyboarding career ends, which it will eventually. I'm not sure how or why it will, but nothing lasts forever, especially nothing good. Right. Well, I'm also, I don't know if I'm like holding, I hold myself back too much with this stuff, but I'm also trying not to let it be too much of a contrivance. If possible, I want things to happen organically without me going out and reaching too hard, in a way that I'll reflect on it if it doesn't work, and I'll be like, well, that was embarrassing, kind of a thing. And I'm sure, everybody can. It's like, in some ways, this stuff is like, oh, I'm gonna go ask that girl out, You go ask her out, and she's like, no. And I'm like, well, that was fucking embarrassing. I thought for sure that would work, but it didn't, and so then you gotta deal with everything that happens afterward. I'm sure, though, that the analogy stretches, and you just get right back up and you do it again, or whatever. It only hurts that one first time, and then you get numb to it. It's not a big deal. Me getting used to putting myself out in front of an audience, better or for worse, rejection or not, is the goal. That's the goal for this. Becoming used to that, so that if I don't draw perfectly on the stream, it's not the end of the world. I know how to. Welcome back, Lonely Leica. Been a while. Like, I'm wrapping it up after I finish this spider. I'm gonna call it a day. But thank you for popping in. I know it's been a little while. We were sort of discussing how if at all, the stream goes next level. Because right now, the artwork, by and large, for the most part, it's just line art and some very on the in-between state. Like, nothing I've done yet or put out yet or streamed yet is like anywhere close to what would be the finished product. But once I start getting there with the stream, like whatever this will look like when it's completely done, at least as far as like a few images go, I'll be trying to do what I can to maybe generate more interest in people checking it out on the stream. Everybody right now who's been looking is either organically caught out in the wild of Twitch, or a friend of my brother who's Boxer in the chat. How fame would change Max. It would change me. Your tonsils are gone. Damn. Eat some ice cream. Do all those stereotypes. Ice cream. So you were sick then. I hope you were able to get it sorted and get your procedure done without too much. Okay, that's good to hear. That means you're on your way to recovery. Fame would not change me because I'm already famous in my head. Oh no. No, that's very that would be like me having a broken finger or worse, I don't know. Like, I shudder to think of what would happen to my eyes, or what would happen if like I had serious eye issues. I've foregone the possibility of doing LASIK surgery on the on the remote chance that it goes bad. I have no backup plan for not being an artist. If I'm not an artist, I don't know what I would do. Wouldn't do much well, I think, in my opinion. we're getting there. We're getting there. Once this little spider is done, yeah. You protect your instrument, baby. Luckily, I'm very versed in crab anatomy from my wife being from Alaska and all the king crab feasts I get to have with her and her friends and family. Right. Yeah, I don't need to. I don't know. I'm not especially prideful about it. Like if I had to go get a job at Universal Studios as like someone who draws like caricatures of people, that's not in my skill set just yet. But it would be a matter, of course, that I could figure it out and then do that. I suppose probably be darn good at it, but at the moment, doing this type of stuff is much more of a likely hit. I'm almost rushing now because I want to say I got this goal accomplished, getting all these spiders drawn. Huge. If I can, I'll come back tonight. I'll do a little quality control on these guys. Because it's better to... It can depend. Sometimes it's better to fix mistakes in the moment, but also understanding that, like, yeah, you're going to miss some things, so sometimes it's just as good to defer all that to later on. After you've had time to rest your eyes, think about other stuff, then come back and see if it's hitting the same way. It's easier to spot something that might bug you after you take a little bit of a rest, and now we are practically there. Okay, flip this upside down. Boom. Okay. Definitely need a lot more of these little dudes. Spiders everywhere. Let's try this. Okay, so very complex, feeling like Zelda. Definitely feel like I have got into that Zelda aesthetic with these creatures now, these Tektites. They're redesigned, they're reborn. Alright, if I can, I'm going to come back sooner than too late and readjust some of the mountain stuff so that it fits their new design, and maybe a little quality control on the Tektites themselves. You guys could tell I was getting a little bit free-handy with some of the, like, does the shell look this way or does it look this way? How does it look at the wrist of these things? How does it look at the hand? A little bit different every time. Some of that is unavoidable, but if I can keep things looking consistent, I want to try. Still, this is hitting the eye just right, so... Oh yeah, I gotta go dance. No, she's waiting. She's gonna hold me to that. But this was a bit of a big effort because going back, fixing mistakes, it's so painful, but it is an important thing to do. So glad I did it, and I'll feel much better moving forward with this image now that I'm happy with the way these things are looking. So that'll be good. I know I'll love this piece when we get back to it. That'll be in a few more days. focus on this one for now. That'll come back later. All right, I'm gonna call it a stream. Thank you, anybody who's still listening, and Destiny, you were here. Good long time. Thank you for sticking it out with me. I appreciate it. And we will. I'm gonna go dance. And we'll do my thingy thing. Next time, overlays. Overlaid over overlays. There will be more overlays than anybody expected. All right. See you next time.